What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of All In with Nate. As you see in the title, we're covering the NFL draft from the picks 1 through 4, which is the Chicago Bears, the Washington Commanders, the New England Patriots, and the Arizona Cardinals. Those are the top 4 picks in the draft at the current moment. But before I get into discussing the Chicago Bears, let me put up there on the screen. They have 2 first-round picks. Both are in the top 10. They actually got this pick right here in the trade for Bryce Young last year. The Panthers traded number 1 and took Bryce Young. They ended up benefiting off of a bad Panther season to get the number 1 pick in the draft. So before we talk about the Chicago Bears, let's get a quick preview of the number 1 pick in the draft.
First up, the Chicago Bears. They got 2 words entering this 2024 NFL draft. Thanks, Carolina. They traded with the Carolina Panthers at the start of the 2023 NFL draft, in which the Chicago Bears moved back as the Panthers took Bryce Young at number 1. They also gained a number 1 pick in the process. Now, as far as the Bears per se, the Bears had a up and down season. They got off to a rough start. They started 2-7, but they rebounded, won 5 of their last 8 games to finish 7-10. And for throughout the season, we heard rumors about Justin Fields being traded, which eventually happened. He was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers towards the second week of free agency. And in the process, the Bears had a pretty good free agency. They brought in All-Pro Kevin Byard. They brought in DeAndre Swift, the running back from the Philadelphia Eagles. They traded for All-Pro Keenan Allen from the Los Angeles Chargers, and now the Bears will look to continue to revamp their roster in the NFL draft. Although they have 2 first-round picks, they only have a total of 4 picks overall. So join me as we discuss the Bears' needs, what they may target in the draft, and what will they do now that free agency is starting to wind down. Up first, the Chicago Bears.
All right, that's my Bears preview. And as I mentioned in the stream, Justin Fields did get traded this offseason to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th-round pick. I honestly did not expect them to actually do this. I heard the rumors. We knew the talk. But one thing I want to go ahead and say, Caleb Williams better be that guy out the gate. You gave him better talent I've seen Justin Fields have in his 3 years in Chicago. So from what you're showing me, you're letting me know that Chicago's ready to compete now. They better be ready to compete now. I don't care if he's a rookie quarterback. Just look at CJ Stroud last season. The Texans made the postseason with a lot less talent than this Chicago Bear team have now. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do, but the Bears are going to have to hit in this draft because I don't know if I mentioned it in the show. They have 4 picks all in total. They have 2 first-round picks, and they have 2 picks after that. They got to hit. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But let me hit these comments real quick. Frank Green said they robbed the Panthers. Yes, they did. I thought that Bryce Young would work out, but the Panthers got a way to go, and we will talk about them at a later time. Cam Trotter said the Panthers are going to have a top 3 pick this year. It's a possibility. Finley, what's going on, bro? Said Calvin to the Bears, Justin Fields too. Ooh, so you got Caleb. Oh, you said Caleb. My bad. I'm going to correct the correct comment. Said Caleb is going to be Justin Fields 2.0. I mean, the Bears have never really had a consistent franchise quarterback. Like they've had guys like a Jay Cutler here for a couple of years. Rex Grossman took him to a Super Bowl. You had up and down with Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields. They've never really put a consistent QB out there for multiple years. So the Bears are putting all their eggs in the basket for Caleb Williams. He better work out for that roster. And this is a roster, they still got a lot of money on their hands, and they've done certain things to put that team in position to at least compete for a wild card spot if, and that's only if, Caleb Williams is worth the pick. And that's probably going to be the number 1 pick. See, Bears winning the division. I'm not going that far. I'm sorry. The Bears are not winning the division. Detroit's still going to have something to say about that. And Green Bay is a team I'm not sleeping on as far as this season in the NFC. KD Baylor's going on, bro, said the Bears better be a fringe player. Absolutely. They better be a playoff team or close to it because you put everything in the basket to say we're all in on Caleb Williams is basically what you said. And my boy Matt checking in. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, bro? So as I continue to talk about the Bears, some of their needs that I have is, number one, edge rusher. Yes, the Bears picked up Montez Sweat last offseason. He did well for him. He had 6 sacks in his time in Chicago. That's great for the Bears. However, the Bears was one of the worst teams in the league getting after the quarterback. The Bears Montez Sweat had 6 sacks himself, but other than that, they had a total of 30. 30 is not good as a collective team when 6 came from your pick, from your guy that you traded for midway through the season. So 24 sacks came from the rest of their positions. They will definitely be in the market to go get a pass rusher. To me, other than the Falcons at 8, they're the next team in line that has the chance to take one of the elite defensive ends that's coming out this draft. So you look at a Jared Verse or a Latu from UCLA or maybe a Chop Robinson later in the draft. But these guys have to get a pass rusher on the opposite side of Montez Sweat for this thing to work, or it's not going to work. Plain and simple. It's the next thing, wide receiver. Now, there are going to be people that's going to disagree with this statement right here as far as wide receiver. But DJ Moore is solid. Keenan Allen is getting into the mid-30s. He's coming off an injury. Keenan Allen is still, when healthy, one of the best wide receivers in football. However, you need to get – why not triple up and go ahead and get you another elite talent out there for Caleb Williams to have a deep receiving core? You got Cole Kmet. You got DJ Moore already there. So now you got Keenan Allen. You can bring a rookie in to learn up under a veteran Keenan Allen, a really solid DJ Moore, so that Bears offensive attack is going to be really good if the QB play comes to play like they should. You got DeAndre Swift as your running back. So the Bears sitting today are better than they were 3-4 months ago. So I better see Caleb Williams step up to the plate because that's going to be the number 1 pick. I'll be shocked if it's anybody else. The next position, interior defensive lineman, just as much as they need a edge rusher, they need somebody to clog that middle up. They put a pick on Gervon Dexter out of Florida last year. He has potential, but he didn't show flashes of being an elite talent. He didn't go out there and have a Jalen Carter type season or a Kobe Turner type season for the Rams. This guy is good, but you need someone that's going to be able to cause havoc up that middle. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch for later in the draft. They could look at Brandon Fisk, the D tackle out of Florida State down the road. He could be a guy that could be a potential Chicago Bear. And last but not least, well, they actually traded for a center, but with the position of center not being a huge need at the moment, you still can't go wrong going to get maybe a Cedric Van Pran or a Zach Frazier to be your guy up the middle. So that's going to be 4 positions that the Bears are going to be looking into this draft. And personally, okay, so I wanted to also name off to you guys what the mock draft said about the Chicago Bears at this particular moment. So Walter Football has the Bears. Well, yeah, Walter Football has the Bears going Caleb Williams at number 1, and they have Jared Verse going number 9 to the Bears. So CBS Sports, they have 4 different guys that are different guys. Okay, so all 4 have them going Caleb number 1. I don't think anybody's going to go against that. But the pick 9, Ryan Wilson has Dallas Turner going to the Bears. He has, in the second commentary guy, he has the Bears actually trading down to number 12, whereas the Denver Broncos, I think it was Denver Broncos, is going to move up to number 9, and they'll still have a chance to take Jared Verse. Rome Odunze was the other pick for Josh Edwards, and then Tom Fornelli also had them trading completely out of the first round because they had like a Cardinals doing some crazy stuff. But overall, the Bears they're on the right track. I'm not gonna say they're on the rise, they're on the right track. This team better show some flashes because basically you built your roster to compete and have a solid offense because you're saying that Caleb Williams is going to blow the league apart. That's what you're showing us. So we'll see. But to hit the rest of these comments, and Don, what's going on, bro? He said Bears get a wild card spot. They with the talent, they can do it. They have the talent. Ryan, what's going on, Ryan? Q, what's going on, bro? Hey, make sure y'all check out his channel. He's gonna start doing more night shows. He definitely be on another platform that you've seen him on. You've seen me and him do a show together recently, so make sure you tune into him. Right, Sweat Bears a better way with presence with help. Absolutely, he should. And Zach would be good. Yeah, Zach Frazier would be a great addition for the Bears. But those are the Bears' needs, in my personal opinion. So moving on to the number 2 team in this mock, the Washington Commanders, who finished 4-13. But before we get into the Commanders, let's get a quick preview of the Commanders.
First up, the Chicago Bears. They got 2 words entering this 2024. Up next, the number 2 pick in the draft, the Washington Commanders. The Commanders had a promising start to the season. They got off to a 2-0 start. It was even at a .500 after a Week 6 win at Atlanta to go to 3-3. After that, the bottom fell out. They lost 12 of their next 13 games, with their lone win coming at New England in week number 9 to finish the season 4-13, causing Ron Rivera to eventually be fired. And the hiring of former Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator Dan Quinn. And the Commanders got started in the free agency market by bringing in a couple of former Cowboys. They brought in Doris Armstrong, linebacker Dante Fowler Jr. They picked up Tyler Biadasz, who's the center for the Cowboys, and he is now going to anchor for the future quarterback for the Washington Commanders. They also brought in All-Pro Austin Eckler to be a part of that backfield. So they made a couple of moves this offseason to improve that roster. However, they lost a lot of talent this offseason. But we will start by talking about some of the critical needs that the Commanders face entering the 2024 draft. What would they look to do? What is my thoughts on them? And what are the mocks saying that the Commanders will do at pick number 2? Up next, the Washington Commanders.
All right, back to talk about the Commanders. The Commanders, as I said, finished 4-13, and we're going to see what happens with that team. Dan Quinn got a second opportunity to become a head coach. He was the head coach of my Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago. We went to a Super Bowl with him, so we're going to be intrigued to see. I think that they have the potential to trend in the right direction, but he is walking into a situation with kind of a fresh situation. Dan Snyder's out the building. You got a new GM. You're a second-time head coach. So there's a lot of things you're going to know that you learned the ropes on in Atlanta and then even going to Dallas with the defensive coordinator that you're going to do better in Washington. But the Commanders, I think everyone is on the same page with the Commanders that their number 1 need is, in fact, the quarterback. You traded Sam Howell to the Seahawks earlier in free agency. So that's going to be a key need for the Commanders. Also, the Commanders, they did a decent job in free agency, but they lost a lot as well. Like, they're in a situation where it's not going to be one of my needs that I have up here on the board, but wide receiver is one of those things they really could look into at some point in this draft because Curtis Samuel went to the Buffalo Bills. You lost a couple of pieces on defense as well. So the Commanders are in an interesting spot. But my needs for the Commanders, number 1 is quarterback. Of course, I think they're going to get Drake May or Jaden Daniels. One of the two would be that pick, and it should be that pick for the Commanders. I just hope that the system that is in place offensively can let those quarterbacks, one of those quarterbacks thrive because they are 2 of the better QBs in this draft after Caleb Williams. So I hope that situation works out for them. Edge rusher is maybe the number 1 need if they didn't have the quarterback situation out of whack because you lost Montez Sweat in a trade to the Bears. You lost Chase Young in a trade to the to the San Francisco 49ers, and he's down in New Orleans. So you wasn't able to pay neither of your pass rushers. So you went from having a solid off defensive line up front to literally not having a group there. So you absolutely have to get things in order for that pass rush. And I think that's one thing that Dan Quinn will make sure to take a look into. It may not be the first round. It probably could be second round, but he absolutely will get a type of pass rusher in this draft. Chop's going to probably go first round at this point. So we'll see who's on the board for him in that second round. But I do think that's a position that's going to get addressed this draft. But I'm going to hit some of the comments real quick. Frank Green said Major Dames, I think the same way. Tevin Ratcliffe said Dan Quinn going to get those boys together. He thrived in Seattle, got Atlanta to a Super Bowl, and turned around a horrible Dallas defense in 3 seasons. Yes, he did. And that's the thing. And again, a lot of Dan Quinn should be a Super Bowl winning head coach. Unfortunately, we know what happened with our situation, but I think Dan Quinn's going to do better. You're in a situation where you can only go up from here. You got a lot of flexibility. You got a lot of cap space too in Washington. That's kind of slept on too. They could be one to go get some veterans after the draft. So that could be something to watch out for too. KD Bailey said Quinn will be better prepared as a head coach. His coordinators failed him the second time. Yes, they did. They failed him in that second half when we clearly should have been closing the ball game out. You tried to go run it up, and just let's be real. That man's done 3 Super Bowls now. So who's the problem? But the other need, tight end, they actually picked up Zach Ertz this offseason, but Zach Ertz is way past the Philadelphia Zach Ertz. They're going to probably get a tight end at some point in the draft, and there's some good tight ends. You're not going to go get Brock Bowers. Brock's going to be gone first round, but you got your pick of a Jaheim Bell, a Theo Johnson, a Cade Stover. So one of those guys would be something to look into for the Commanders if in my opinion. Also, offensive tackle, they don't really have a good situation at offensive tackle either in Washington. That's going to be something to watch out for as well. And another thing I would say is they brought in a couple of they brought in Tyler Biadasz from the Dallas Cowboys to protect up that middle. However, when you're bringing a rookie franchise quarterback, you're gonna have to get a tackle to protect his blind side because at this point, you got rid of Charles Leno Jr. You don't really have much to fall back on at left tackle. So this could be, and this is still a pretty good draft for left tackle. So even if you don't get it in the first round, it could be a second round address. So we'll see what they do with that spot. Slim Pickens, what's going on, bro? Said the Giants versus Falcons. Meet me there. Hey, I'll be there. I see you there, man. Commanders got a lot of work to do. They honestly should consider trading back. And this is also not a far-fetched statement too, because the Commanders, if I was them, if I'm not so sure where my roster is sitting after 2, you can sit back, you can go back down to 11 or 12 and go get a Bo Nix, go get a JJ McCarthy. You can go get somebody like that. But moving on to the next comment, let's see. I hope Caleb Williams don't get drafted by the Bears. That organization not good for their quarterback. He's going to be a Bear. And barring something crazy happens, he's going to be a Chicago Bear. We don't even have to worry about that one, John. But those are the needs that I said for them. But the mock draft are kind of between 3 players. Walter Football has them going Drake May at number 2. CBS Sports, 3 pundits had them going Jaden Daniels. 1 had them going Drake May. NFL.com had them going JJ McCarthy. So everybody's leaning towards the Commanders going quarterback at number 2. So we will see what happens with that situation with the Commanders. But I think everyone's saying they're going to go get them a franchise quarterback in some capacity in this draft. And we'll see what they do at number 2. But it looks like it's going to be a quarterback. It's going to either be JJ, Jaden, or Drake. My personal opinion is going to probably be Jaden Daniels and then Drake May goes to 3. But that's what I'm thinking. But then I wouldn't be shocked if it's the reverse. So that's my take on the Washington Commanders. Moving on to the New England Patriots. But before I get into them, let's get a quick preview of the Patriots.
Up next, the New England Patriots. The Patriots had a rough season. They were the second worst offense in the National Football League. They ended the season with a 4-13 record. They will be picking number 3 in the draft, but a lot changed this offseason. The first thing was losing all-time great Bill Belichick. He retired after an unprecedented run as the New England Patriots head coach, in which we saw him dominate for a 20-year span, winning 6 Super Bowls in the process. And now we'll pass it over to one of his former players, who was also the linebacker coach last year for the Patriots, Jerod Mayo, as he will try to lead the Patriots back to their days of glory. However, they traded Mac Jones for a 6th-round pick, so a quarterback could be a need that they address this offseason. They didn't really do a lot in free agency. They brought in the Commanders running back, Antonio Gibson, to be their starting running back for the foreseeable future. But as we go along, let's talk about the Patriots' needs. Let's talk about what are some of the things Jerod Mayo can do to get this roster back on the right track. Up next, the 2024 New England Patriots.
All right, now we talk about the New England Patriots. And let me be honest with you guys. This is a very, 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 very tough predicament for that ball club. Because, again, they're going to probably go get a quarterback in the first round without question. But at the end of the day, when you look at the talent on the roster, there's not a lot of talent to me on that New England Patriot offensive side of the ball. You really kind of need everything, if I'm gonna be honest. And I hate to see so brutal. You still got Hunter Henry. You don't have to really worry about the tight end position, but you definitely need to address that wide receiver. You need to actually double or triple down the wide receiver spot. You brought in Antonio Gibson, as I mentioned in the clip. So he's gonna have his hands full because that roster is solid on defense. Yes, you still got a couple things you can add on defense as well. But at this moment, I think that they really got to double or triple down on wide receivers and this draft coming up. That's what I personally think that they should do. And also, you also can look at the situation. They really got to get them an offensive tackle because that they have tackles, but they're getting older. So the Patriots are in a weird position where your most talented players are getting to that back end of their career or father time, or you got guys that's just not what they once used to be. So you need to be looking for replacements and trying to fill the roster at the same time. So my needs for the Patriots, I'm going to put them up on the board. Let me put this down here. The first need is a quarterback. I think that's going to be the guaranteed number 3 pick for the New England Patriots. You need a signal caller for your foreseeable future. You will have a pick of one of the elites. Whether even with 2 of them gone, it could either be Drake May and JJ left, either could be Jaden and JJ left. But either way, you have the option of the big 3 at QB in this draft. So that's what you're going to address. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Also, Patriots need a wide receiver in the worst way possible. This was one of the worst offensive units I have seen last season. Their wide receiving core was their leading receiver last season was Demario Douglas. He was a rookie out of Liberty, and he had 561 yards receiving. They had no talent at wide receiver. This is probably the worst wide receiver group in football. Your second leading receiver was Hunter Henry, your tight end. After that, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster. They had no talent at wide receiver. They need to get talent there in the worst way possible. That could arguably be your second biggest need, maybe even number 1. But I think that they, with the picks that they have in this draft, they may go back in the second round and get you run it. If the pick, so this is what I really think. It depends on how the receiver run goes, because there have been times in the draft where one team go receivers and 7 or 8 go receivers. But this is a deep receiver class. So I could see them in the second round go get a Xavier Worthy or A.D. Mitchell or an Xavier Leggett. One of those guys could be a New England Patriot in day 2. I do think day 1 is automatically going to be a quarterback. As I mentioned also, offensive tackle is a definite position they need to worry about. You need to worry about it on both sides. They're not young in that position at all. They need to get that situated. Edge rusher is another thing that they have to go and get. You have what's his name? I'm to my songs. You do have Matthew Judon at the edge. However, you need better talent other than Judon. You don't really have solid talent at the defensive tackle position either. So the edge / the defensive line in general could be addressed. Yes, you got Christian Barmore and Keon White. There are 2 young guys that's coming up. But at the end of the day, you need that one guy that's going to cause havoc on defense. And you don't really have that right now. So an edge rusher would be key. And this is a late need, but running back is another position they could look into in the draft. They may not address it as much because they went and got Antonio Gibson. They may go just snatch somebody undrafted and say, we'll rock out with those 2. But we'll see. But that's my quick take on the Patriots because, I mean, honestly, they need everything. I hate to be rude. They do. They need it all. But the mocks have the Patriots. Walter Football has them going Jaden Daniels at 3. CBS Sports, 3 of them had them going. 2 had them going Drake May. 1 had them going Jaden Daniels. Another one had them trading down with the Minnesota Vikings to 11 to take Alou Fashanu, the left tackle out of Penn State, and they come up to get a quarterback because Minnesota's the one's going to be the watch in this draft because they could end up in that next pick that I'm going to bring up. And NFL.com has them taking Jaden Daniels as well. So that's going to be intriguing to see what's going on. Rails up, brother. And the last but not least team on the mock draft for this first show is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. But before I stick to talking about the Arizona Cardinals, let's get a quick preview of this team.
Last but not least, we talk about the Arizona Cardinals, who are picking at pick 4 and 27. Now, before we talk about their 2023 season, this is a pick that could potentially be traded. They have 2 first-round picks and an unprecedented 6 in the top 90. So this is a team who could be heavily sought after to be traded on draft night. But as far as the 2023 season, led by first-year head coach Jonathan Gannon, they had a rough season. They were 4-13. It's Kyler Murray for a portion of the season. He came back midway through the season, and it still didn't really do much. They had the second worst defense in the National Football League, and this is a roster that don't have a lot of talent on it. So this draft is going to be very critical for this franchise to execute. The agency was not the best to them. They've only picked up 1 legitimate left tackle, which was Jonathan Williams from the Cincinnati Bengals. But we will move on and discuss what do the Cardinals need in the draft, how can they go by revamping this roster, what the mock drafts are saying, and let's get ready to talk about the 2024 Arizona Cardinals.
First thing first, let me apologize for the typo that I had in that video. I meant to say Jonah Williams, not Jonathan. He's the guard from the Cincinnati Bengals. But let me be nice as possible. What are my needs for the Cardinals? That's all I'm going to say right now. They need everything. That is the worst roster in the National Football League. It is not even close. It's not even close. They were bad coming into the offseason. But then you lose Marquise Brown to the Chiefs. You traded Rondale Moore to the Falcons for Desmond freaking Ridder. Now look at your roster. You have no talent. I looked at their roster before I even did this show. And matter of fact, I may even go ahead and pull this string. Matter of fact, now since we're talking about it, let me go to shout to ourlads.com. I'm going to bring this up on the screen so you all can see what their current roster is as of now. Mind you, this is post-free agency. This is not before free agency. So, shout out to ourlads.com. Let's go full screen. The Arizona Cardinals roster consists of, I don't know why all these ads are up. Their starting wide receiving core is Chris Moore, Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson. That's their receiving core right now. Kyler Murray, James Conner is still there. Trey McBride is still there. You still got a talented Paris Johnson Jr., who had a solid year for him. But look at the rest of their roster. You brought in Jonah Williams this offseason. You have Elijah Wilkins, a pickup from Cleveland, and Will Hernandez as your middle of the offensive line. This is the worst roster in the National Football League. The worst. If there's any Cardinal fans out here, I'm not trying to be brutal. We're just going to be honest. This is the worst roster in the National Football League. They need everything. Also moving along to the defense. Now, the defense has Budda Baker. Budda Baker is going to try to get up out of there. I wouldn't waste my career in Arizona right now. I'm sorry. Sean Murphy-Bunting, they picked him up from the Tennessee Titans. Garrett Williams. But look at the roster. This is not a roster that's good enough to win 6 games. Let's be honest. It's not even good enough to win 6 games. This roster's that bad. So they have to be really scouting this draft. But they got the picks to do it. The Cardinals, at this current moment, are picking 4 and 27, 35, 66, 71, and 90. They are going to have 6 picks on the first 2 nights. There is no excuse why that team do not walk out of there with a plethora of talent in the first 2 nights. Plain and simple. Because that roster need it all. And let's think about your division. You have the San Francisco 49ers, who just came off blowing another Super Bowl. You got the Seattle Seahawks. Roster's talented, but they're not dominant. But you have a good roster. You look at the Rams, they just lost AD to retirement, but the offensive side of the ball, they still got Kyron Williams. They still got Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. You still got Stafford at quarterback. There's not a bad roster altogether. The Cardinals, their roster's bad. So they need everything to go their direction. But I know I said everything, but except for quarterback. But here are my needs for the Cardinals. I'm gonna be nice. They need an entire defensive line, straight up. They need defensive line all over the board. This may be a Chop Robinson destination later in the draft. So this could be their second first-round pick. They definitely need cornerbacks. They don't have a lot of talent at the corner position at all. Their best bet, right? So they have Sean Murphy-Bunting. He's their best corner, and that's not saying a lot. They don't have talent at corner. Wide receiver, they have no wide receivers. That will be addressed this draft, whether it be Marvin Harrison at 4, whether they trade back and take Romo Dunes later on, whether they take a A.D. Mitchell or a Xavier Worthy or Xavier Leggett, they're going to go wide receiver. They may even double up on wide receiver in the draft. And in the tackle position, Paris Johnson had a good, very, very good draft first season for the Cardinals. It sucks because he's on a bad team, so it don't really show much. But this is the team right here at number 4. They could be moving around the draft all night long, the first 2 nights. Do not be surprised if they trade back. I think they're trading back. That's my personal opinion. And if I was in the position that the Cardinals was in, I would want to trade back. I would try to double. You have 2 first-round picks in this draft, but my thing is this. What you do have that the other 3 ahead of you don't have is a franchise quarterback with Kyler Murray. So if you're looking to rock out with Kyler Murray, you go put a roster around him. That's what you have to go do. Tevin said that the Cardinals are trying to sabotage Kyler and then blame him for everything. Interesting. Ryan Burns said, Tev, the QB is always to blame, and do the Cards go Marvin at 4? They should go Marvin at 4 if they stay at 4. I really think this could be a trade down scenario for the Arizona Cardinals. I would not be shocked. A lot of the mocks also have the Cardinals trading down at a point in this draft too. So I'm gonna name to everyone what the mocks are gonna really tell y'all where people are kind of leaning to with this team right now. So as you see at the bottom, the Cardinals are picked 4 and 27. So Walter Football has the Cardinals staying in place. They take Marvin Harrison at 4 and Chris Jenkins, the defensive end out of Michigan, at 27. Now CBS Sports, get ready for the fun. Ryan Wilson has the Cardinals taking Marvin at 4 and Lotso. He's the only one that says they're not going to make some type of movement. Now, Chris Trapasso has been thinking like I've been thinking as far as a scenario. He has the Cardinals trading down to number 12 with the Minnesota Vikings. Then he has the Cardinals trading back up to number 9 to take Rome Odunze out of Washington. And then with pick 27, he has the Cardinals trading up to the Philadelphia Eagles pick at 22 to take Chop Robinson, the defensive end out of Penn State. I could see that possibly happen. Now, the next one said that Marvin and Cooper DeJean is going to be the pick in their respective positions. Now, Marvin is the next one, who is Tom Fortelli, has the Cardinals trading down to number 7 with the Tennessee Titans and taking Rome Odunze at 7. They got the Titans going to get Joe Alt on that offensive line. They have Kool-Aid staying at 27, so I guess they will pick up a later pick. Now, NFL.com has some crazy stuff. They first got the Cardinals trading down to 11 with the Minnesota Vikings from 4, where I think they have the Vikings taking the quarterback at 4. They would then trade up to 8 with the Falcons and go pick Rome Odunze. So that's the first scenario for them. Then they have the Cardinals still trading from having that second first round pick and trading down to 20 and having to go 23 and pick Cooper DeJean, the safety out of Iowa. So then the Cardinals would then trade out of the pick 27 to the Washington Commanders. So they have the Cardinals making a lot of movement in the draft. And I think that's what's going to happen, especially with 6 picks in the top 90. I would be making some movement too. Not going to lie. But those are the first 4 teams I'm going to talk about. And the next 3 I will talk about will be the Los Angeles Chargers, the Tennessee Titans, and the New York Giants. It's going to be my next show. I'm planning on I may do it Monday. It may be a Monday show, maybe a Tuesday show. One of those days I'm going to do the show of those 3 teams. And then, of course, my Atlanta Falcons going to get their separate show, as I always do. But these are the top 4 picks in the draft. If you got any suggestions that you want to throw out there that the Cardinals are going to do, that the Commanders, the Patriots, or the Bears are going to do, throw them in the comments. Send them to me. I will cover every single team before draft night on the 25th. So with that being said, this has been an episode of All In with Nate. I appreciate you all tuning in. Until next time, this is the first 4 picks in the draft. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and please share. Maybe someone can see this show and see a better understanding of all 4 teams. But until next time, enjoy the rest of your weekend and good luck to the teams in the Sweet 16.